Maya stood at the kitchen sink, scrubbing dried pasta off a plate that wasn't hers. The water ran cold because someone had used up all the hot water again. Probably her stepsister Brittany, who took 30-minute showers and never thought twice about anyone else. Maya didn't complain, though. Complaining only made things worse. Through the window above the sink, she could see her stepbrother Tyler and Brittany playing basketball in the driveway. Their laughter drifted through the glass, sharp and careless. Derek, her stepfather, was out there too, cheering them on like some kind of sports dad from a commercial. Her mother sat on the porch steps, smiling at the scene like it was exactly what she'd always wanted. Maybe it was. Maybe this was the family her mother had dreamed of, and Maya was just the leftover piece from a life her mother wanted to forget. It hadn't always been this way. 3 years ago, Maya's father was still alive. Back then, their little house had been filled with music and terrible jokes. Her dad would dance around the kitchen while making breakfast, singing off-key to whatever was on the radio. He'd help Maya with her homework at the dining table, patient even when she got frustrated with math problems. On weekends, they'd go hiking or visit the bookstore downtown, where he'd always let her pick out one new book. Then came the accident. A drunk driver ran a red light, and suddenly Maya's whole world shattered into before and after. The funeral was a blur of people she barely knew saying things that didn't help. Her mother had cried for weeks, barely leaving her bedroom. Maya had been 13 years old and completely lost. For a while, it was just the two of them trying to figure out how to keep going. Her mother went back to work at the hospital, picking up extra shifts. Maya learned to cook simple meals and do her own laundry. They were sad, but they had each other. That had to be enough. Then Derek showed up. He worked in hospital administration, and he started asking Maya's mother out for coffee after shifts. At first, her mother said no, but Derek was persistent, and eventually, loneliness won. 6 months after their first date, Derek moved in. 6 months after that, they got married at the courthouse with just a few witnesses. Tyler and Brittany came to live with them a week later. The house that had once felt too empty suddenly felt too small. Derek's kids got the bigger bedrooms. Maya's room, which used to be hers and hers alone, now felt like a closet she was borrowing. The family dinners her mother used to cook became rushed affairs where everyone ate different things at different times. The hiking trips and bookstore visits stopped completely because Derek's kids weren't interested, and what Derek's kids wanted seemed to be all that mattered. Maya finished the last plate and dried her hands on a towel that had seen better days. She glanced at the clock. She had about an hour before her shift at the corner store started. It was supposed to be her day off, but her coworker had called in sick and Maya needed the money. Her mother didn't buy her clothes anymore, said the household budget was tight with 5 people to feed. Never mind that Derek had just bought Tyler a new gaming system last week. She grabbed her backpack from the floor where she'd left it that morning. Inside were her work uniform, her phone with the cracked screen she couldn't afford to fix, and a worn copy of a book she'd been trying to read for 3 weeks. Between school, work, and all the chores that somehow always fell to her, she barely had time to finish a chapter. As she headed toward the front door, Derek's voice stopped her.
"Hold on there." Maya turned.
Derek stood in the doorway, still sweaty from playing basketball. He had that look on his face, the one that meant she'd done something wrong even though she had no idea what. "The garage is a mess," he said, crossing his arms. "Needs to be cleaned out before tomorrow. We've got people coming over." Maya felt her stomach drop. "I have work in an hour. So clean it when you get back. I won't be home until 10. Derek shrugged like her exhaustion was just a minor detail. "Not my problem. This is your house too, and everyone needs to pull their weight." Maya wanted to laugh at that. Everyone pulling their weight, right? Tyler hadn't cleaned anything in months. Brittany's only job was to keep her room neat, which she rarely did. But Maya was the one scrubbing dishes, taking out trash, vacuuming floors, and now apparently cleaning the garage at 10 o'clock at night. She looked past Derek to where her mother sat on the porch. Her mother was looking down at her phone, pretending not to hear the conversation. That was how it always went. Maya's mother never stood up for her anymore, never questioned Derek's decisions. It was like she'd traded her daughter for a chance at a do-over family. "Fine," Maya said quietly. "I'll do it when I get back." She walked out the door before Derek could pile on more tasks. The spring air was warm, but she felt cold inside. This was her life now, invisible unless someone needed something from her. Unwanted except as free labor. The walk to the corner store took 15 minutes. Maya used the time to push down all the feelings bubbling up in her chest. Anger wouldn't help. Crying wouldn't help. She just had to keep her head down, get through high school, and then maybe she could leave. College somewhere far away. A job in another city. Anything to get out of that house. Work was busy, which was good because it meant the hours passed faster. She rang up customers, restocked shelves, and swept the floor. Her manager, Mr. Peterson, was one of the few adults who treated her like a person. He always asked how school was going and made sure she took her breaks. Sometimes Maya wondered what it would be like to have a parent who showed that kind of basic consideration. It was almost 9:30 when Mr. Peterson called her to the back office. Maya's first thought was that she'd messed something up, but his expression wasn't angry. He looked concerned, which somehow felt worse. "Maya, I got a call today from a woman at your school," he said carefully. "A counselor, I think. She wanted to know about your work schedule, asked if you seemed okay." Maya's blood went cold. Mrs. Rodriguez. Her guidance counselor had been asking questions lately, noticing things Maya tried to hide. The fact that she wore the same 3 outfits on rotation. The way she fell asleep in class sometimes. The bruises on her arms from last week when Derek had grabbed her during an argument about a broken dish. "I'm fine," Maya said automatically. "School's just checking in on students who work. Standard stuff." Mr. Peterson didn't look convinced. "Maya, if something's wrong at home, there are people who can help." "Nothing's wrong. Everything's fine." The lie tasted bitter, but what else could she say? That her stepfather treated her like a servant? That her mother had checked out emotionally? That she was 16 years old and felt more alone than she'd ever been, even right after her dad died? None of that would help. It would only make things worse. She left work at 10 like always. The walk home was dark and quiet. A few streetlights flickered. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. Maya thought about her dad, wondered what he would think if he could see her life now. Would he be disappointed in her for not being stronger? Or would he be angry at her mother for letting things get this bad? The house was dark when she got home except for the glow of the TV in the living room. Maya didn't go in to see who was watching. She just headed straight for the garage like Derek had ordered. The space was cluttered with boxes, old furniture, and random junk that had accumulated over the years. It would take at least an hour to organize properly. She got to work, moving boxes and sweeping concrete. Her arms ached. Her feet hurt. She wanted to cry but wouldn't let herself. Crying was weakness, and she couldn't afford to be weak. Around 11:30, the garage door opened. Maya expected Derek, ready to criticize her work. Instead, it was her mother. She stood there in her bathrobe, looking small and tired. "You should go to bed," her mother said softly. "This can wait until tomorrow." Maya kept sweeping. "Derek said it had to be done tonight. He's already asleep. He won't know. He'll know." There was a long silence. Maya could feel her mother's eyes on her, but she didn't look up. If she looked at her mother right now, she might say things she couldn't take back. "I know this hasn't been easy," her mother started. Maya's hands tightened on the broom handle. "I'm almost done here. You should go back inside." "Maya, please. I'm trying my best." That's when something inside Maya cracked. She looked up, meeting her mother's eyes for the first time in weeks. "Are you?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you traded me in for a new family. I'm just the reminder of your old life that you're stuck with." Her mother's face crumpled. "That's not fair. What's not fair is that I do everything around here and still get treated like I'm the problem. What's not fair is that you never stand up for me anymore. What's not fair is that I lost my dad and then I lost you too, even though you're still here." Tears were running down her mother's face now, but Maya felt nothing. She was too tired to feel anything anymore. "I should have done better," her mother whispered. "I know I should have, but it's complicated. Derek provides for us and I can't risk." "Risk what? Being alone? So you'd rather I be miserable as long as you're not lonely?" Her mother didn't answer. After a moment, she turned and went back into the house, leaving Maya alone in the garage with her broom and her broken heart. Maya finished cleaning around midnight. She dragged herself upstairs, took a cold shower because again there was no hot water, and collapsed into bed. Sleep didn't come easy. It never did anymore. 2 weeks later, everything fell apart. A teacher noticed the bruises during gym class and reported it. Child services showed up at the house unannounced. There was an investigation, interviews, Questions Maya had to answer while Derek glared at her like this was all her fault. The caseworker was kind but firm. She talked about family dynamics and concerning patterns. She mentioned options like temporary placement or regular home visits. Derek and her mother looked panicked. Maya just felt numb. That night, after the caseworker left, Derek and her mother had a long conversation behind their closed bedroom door. Maya sat on her bed, knowing whatever they decided wouldn't be good for her. She was the problem now, the thing causing trouble. They'd find a way to make her disappear without actually looking like the bad guys. She was right. The next morning, at breakfast, Derek announced the solution like he'd just had a brilliant idea. "I've been thinking," he said, not looking at Maya. "My brother Vincent lives out in Montana. He's got plenty of space. Maybe Maya would benefit from a change of scenery, a fresh start somewhere new." Maya's mother nodded along, relief clear on her face. "It might be good for you, honey. Get away from all the stress here." Maya understood immediately. They were getting rid of her, sending her away to someone she'd never met so they could keep their perfect little family intact without the complication of a stepdaughter who'd gotten them investigated. "Does he even want me there?" Maya asked. "Vincent and I talked," Derek said. "He's willing to take you in, help you get your feet under you." Willing. What a word. Not happy to have her, not eager to be family, just willing, like she was a burden he'd agreed to shoulder out of obligation. Her mother reached across the table like she might take Maya's hand, then thought better of it. It really might be for the best. A new school, new friends. You can start over. Start over. Like Maya was the one who'd messed everything up. Like being sent away to a stranger 3 states away was some kind of opportunity, instead of abandonment. Within a week it was all arranged. Vincent had agreed over the phone. A bus ticket was purchased. Maya was given 1 suitcase to pack her life into and $200 for expenses. No one asked if she wanted to go. No one seemed to care that she was terrified. The morning she left, Tyler and Brittany were still asleep. Derek drove her to the bus station, the radio playing so they didn't have to talk. Her mother came along but spent the whole ride staring out the window. At the station, her mother hugged her briefly, whispered "I'm sorry" so quietly Maya almost didn't hear it, and then they were gone. Maya sat on the bench outside the station, her suitcase at her feet, waiting for the bus that would take her away from everything she'd ever known. She thought about her dad again. Wondered what he'd say about all this. Would he tell her to be brave? Would he promise that everything would work out? Or would he be as heartbroken as she was that the people who were supposed to love her had given up so easily? The bus pulled up, and Maya climbed aboard. She found a seat near the back and pressed her face against the window. The scenery blurred as they pulled out of the station. She was headed to Montana, to a man she'd never met, to a life she couldn't even imagine. They thought sending her away would solve their problem. They thought she'd disappear into the distance and let them forget she existed. Maya pulled her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them, making herself as small as possible. She had no idea that the stranger waiting for her at the end of this journey would change everything. That the place they were sending her to escape would become the first real home she'd known in years. That being unwanted by them would lead her to someone who'd see her worth when no one else did. But that was still hours and hundreds of miles away. Right now, Maya was just a girl on a bus, leaving behind everyone who was supposed to care, heading toward an uncertain future with nothing but a suitcase and a wounded heart. The bus ride took 18 hours with 3 transfers. Maya barely slept, just watched the landscape change through her window. Cities turned into small towns. Small towns turned into farmland. Farmland eventually gave way to mountains that seemed to touch the sky. With each mile, she felt further from everything familiar, heading into complete unknown territory. When the bus finally pulled into the small Montana station, Maya's whole body ached. She grabbed her suitcase and stepped off into air that felt different than home. Cleaner somehow. Crisper. The station was tiny, just a covered bench and a small building that looked like it served as both ticket office and waiting area. There was only one other person standing there, a man, tall and broad-shouldered, with a thick beard that had some gray mixed into the brown. He wore work boots, faded jeans, and a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His hands looked rough, like they'd seen years of hard work. When he saw Maya, he didn't smile exactly, but he gave a small nod and walked over. "Maya?" His voice was deep and quiet. She nodded, suddenly unable to speak. This was Vincent. The man Derek had barely spoken to in over 10 years. The stranger who was supposed to be her fresh start, though they both knew she was really just being dumped here. "I'm Vincent." He reached for her suitcase. "My truck's over here." He didn't try to hug her or shake her hand or do any of the awkward things adults usually did when meeting kids. He just took her bag and started walking toward an old blue pickup truck that had definitely seen better days. Maya followed, not sure what else to do. The drive from the station took about 30 minutes. Vincent didn't try to fill the silence with small talk, and honestly, Maya was grateful. She wasn't ready for questions about the bus ride or how she was feeling or any of that stuff that didn't really matter. Instead, she looked out the window at the passing scenery. Mountains rose up on both sides of the road. Pine trees stretched as far as she could see. There weren't many houses out here, just lots of open space. Eventually, Vincent turned onto a gravel driveway that led to a modest ranch house. It was single-story, painted a faded white with dark green shutters. Behind the house, Maya could see a barn and some fenced areas. A few horses grazed in one of the pastures, their tails swishing at flies in the late afternoon sun. Vincent parked the truck and got out. Maya followed him to the front door, her heart pounding. She had no idea what to expect. Would he have a list of rules? Would he make it clear she was an inconvenience? Would he be nice to her face but cold in all the ways that actually mattered, like her mother had become? The inside of the house was clean but simple. The living room had a worn couch, a coffee table, and a TV that looked about 10 years old. The kitchen was small and organized, everything in its place. It wasn't fancy, but it felt lived in and cared for in a way her old house hadn't felt in years. Vincent set her suitcase down. "I'll show you your room." He led her down a short hallway. There were 3 doors. He opened the middle one and stepped aside so she could look in. The room was small but bright, with a window that looked out toward the mountains. There was a bed with a simple blue quilt, a dresser, and a desk. On the desk, she noticed school supplies, notebooks, pens, folders, all new. On the dresser sat a stack of towels, a new toothbrush still in its package, shampoo, soap. Basic things, but things Maya had been buying for herself for the past year, because no one else bothered. "Bathrooms across the hall," Vincent said. "I wasn't sure what you'd need, but I got some basics. If there's other stuff you want, we can get it." Maya just stared at the room. It was more than she'd expected. So much more. "There's space in the closet for your clothes," Vincent continued. "Dresser's empty too. You can arrange things however you want." "Okay," Maya managed to say. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Vincent nodded toward the kitchen. "I'll make some dinner. Come out when you're ready. No rush." Then he left, closing the door behind him. Maya stood there for a long moment, just looking around. This was her room, her space. Vincent had prepared it for her, had bought her things she needed, had made it clear, in his quiet way, that she was expected here. Not just tolerated, but actually expected. She sat down on the bed, testing it. The mattress was firm but comfortable. Through the window she could see the horses in the pasture, and the mountains beyond. It was so quiet here. No traffic sounds. No neighbors arguing. No Tyler and Brittany fighting over the TV. Just quiet. Maya unpacked her single suitcase, which didn't take long. Her few clothes barely filled 2 drawers. She'd brought the book she'd been reading, a photo of her dad that she kept folded in her wallet, and not much else. Her whole life fit in one bag. The thought should have made her sad, but right now she just felt tired. After a while, she headed to the kitchen. Vincent was at the stove, cooking something that smelled good. When he heard her, he glanced over. "Hope you like spaghetti. It's pretty basic, but it's one of the few things I'm decent at cooking. Spaghetti's fine." Maya sat down at the small kitchen table. She watched him work. His movements were efficient and practiced. He wasn't trying to impress her with fancy cooking. He was just making food. When it was ready, he served them both and sat down across from her. They ate in silence for a few minutes. The spaghetti was actually good. Simple, like he'd said, but better than most meals she'd had in the past year. School starts Monday, Vincent said. It's about 20 minutes from here. I'll drive you the first day, show you where to go. After that, you can take the bus if you want, or I can keep driving you. Up to you. Maya nodded, twirling spaghetti on her fork. Okay. There's chores around here, but nothing crazy. I'll need help with the horses sometimes. Feeding, cleaning stalls, basic stuff. I'll teach you what you need to know. Other than that, just keep your room clean and help out with dishes. That seem fair? Yeah. It seemed more than fair. It seemed almost too easy. Vincent seemed to sense her skepticism. I'm not complicated, Maya. I work with wood and horses, keep to myself mostly. I'm not going to give you a hard time as long as you don't give me one. We both mind our business, we'll get along fine. It was the most straightforward thing any adult had said to her in years. No hidden meanings. No expectations she'd somehow failed to meet. Just simple terms laid out plainly. Over the next few days, Maya started to settle in. Vincent kept his word about teaching her. He showed her how to feed the horses, how to check their water, how to clean out the stalls. The work was hard but satisfying in a way she hadn't expected. The horses didn't judge her. They just wanted food and care and to be left alone otherwise. She could relate to that. Vincent worked in a shop behind the house, building custom furniture and doing carpentry projects. Sometimes Maya would sit on the porch and watch him work through the open shop doors. He moved with focus and precision, measuring twice, cutting once, fitting pieces together like puzzles. He never seemed frustrated or impatient, just steady. On Saturday, 3 days after she'd arrived, Vincent found her sitting on the porch reading her book. Need to go into town for supplies, he said. Want to come along? Maya wasn't sure if this was a question or an order, but she closed her book and followed him to the truck. The drive into town was quiet, like most things with Vincent. The town itself wasn't much bigger than the one Maya had left, but it felt different. People seemed to know each other. The hardware store owner greeted Vincent by name. A woman at the grocery store asked how he was doing and gave Maya a friendly smile. While they were in the grocery store, Vincent asked her what kind of food she liked. The question caught Maya off guard. I don't know. Regular stuff, I guess. Vincent raised an eyebrow. You've got to like some things more than others. Maya thought about it. At Derek's house, she'd eaten whatever was left after everyone else served themselves. Her preferences hadn't mattered in a long time. I like fruit. Apples, strawberries when they're in season. And I don't know, chicken, pasta, normal things. Vincent nodded and started adding items to the cart. Fresh fruit, chicken breasts, the ingredients for different kinds of pasta dishes, a few frozen pizzas, cereal she'd mentioned she liked once. He wasn't making a big deal about it, but he was listening, actually listening to what she said and acting on it. In the checkout line, Maya noticed her shoes were falling apart. The sole on her left shoe had started separating from the upper part. She'd been wearing these shoes for over a year, and they'd been worn when she got them as hand-me-downs from Brittany. She tried to position her feet so Vincent wouldn't notice. He noticed. After they loaded groceries into the truck, he didn't start the engine. When's the last time you got new shoes? These are fine. They're falling apart. I can make them work a little longer. Vincent was quiet for a moment. Then he put the truck in reverse and backed out of the parking space. But instead of heading home, he drove to a store 2 blocks over. A shoe store? Come on, he said, getting out. Vincent, you don't have to. Can't go to school in shoes that are falling apart. Come on. Inside, a saleswoman helped them. Vincent told her Maya needed good, sturdy shoes for school. Maybe a pair for every day and a pair for running if she did sports. The woman measured Maya's feet and brought out several options. Maya tried them on, walking around the store, feeling weird about the whole thing. These were nice shoes. New shoes. Shoes that actually fit. Those feel okay? Vincent asked, gesturing to the pair she had on. Yeah, they're good. Then we'll take them, he told the saleswoman. And that pair too, pointing to the running shoes. Maya wanted to argue, to say it was too much, but something in Vincent's expression stopped her. He wasn't trying to buy her affection or make himself look good. He was just solving a practical problem. She needed shoes, so he was getting her shoes. Simple as that. That night after dinner, Maya helped with dishes. It had become their routine. He'd wash, she'd dry and put away. They worked in comfortable silence until Vincent spoke up. Derek called earlier. While you were in the shower. Maya's hands froze on the plate she was drying. What did he want? Wanted to know if you'd settled in okay. I told him you were fine. That's it? Vincent was quiet for a second. He also said some things about you being difficult. That I should watch out for attitude problems and laziness. Maya felt her stomach drop. Of course Derek would poison the well before she'd even had a chance to prove herself. Make sure Vincent expected the worst from her. I'm not lazy, she said quietly. I worked 2 jobs back home while going to school and doing all the chores around the house. I know. Maya looked up at him. How would you know that? Vincent rinsed another dish. Because I've seen you this week. You don't sleep late. You help without being asked. You work hard with the horses even though I can tell you're still figuring it out. So either you changed completely in the last few days or Derek's version of things isn't the truth. He met her eyes. I'm not Derek. I don't need him to tell me who you are. I'll figure that out myself by paying attention. Something in Maya's chest loosened just a little bit. Someone was actually going to judge her by her actions, not by whatever story had been told about her beforehand. For what it's worth, Vincent continued, I stopped listening to Derek's version of anything about 10 years ago. We don't see eye to eye on much, especially what it means to take care of people. Maya wanted to ask what had happened between them, why they'd stopped talking, but she wasn't sure she had the right to ask. Vincent seemed to sense her curiosity, though. Our parents died when I was 23 and Derek was 19, he said, his voice measured. Car accident. I just started this carpentry business. Derek was in college. There was a small inheritance and the family house. Derek wanted to sell everything, take his half, and never look back. I wanted to keep the house, keep some of the things that mattered. We fought about it for months. He paused, draining the sink. Eventually, he took me to court. Forced the sale. Got his money and moved across the country. Barely spoke to me since, except when he needs something. I'm sorry, Maya said softly. Vincent shrugged. Ancient history. Point is, I know what it's like when family decides you're not worth the trouble, when they'd rather just walk away than work through the hard parts. He dried his hands on a towel and looked at her directly. You're not a problem to solve, Maya. You're a person who's been through something hard. Big difference. Maya felt tears prick her eyes but blinked them back. She wasn't used to adults saying things like that. Wasn't used to being seen as a person instead of a burden or an inconvenience. The weekend passed. Monday came and Vincent drove her to school like he'd promised. The school was smaller than her old one, which was actually a relief. The office staff were friendly when Vincent introduced her. They gave her a schedule and a map of the building. Vincent waited while she got everything sorted, then walked with her to find her first class. You've got my number in your phone, he said before leaving. Anything goes wrong, you call. I'll come get you. Okay. Maya wasn't sure anything would go that wrong on the first day, but knowing she could call if she needed to felt good. School was school. Teachers introduced her to classes. A few students tried to be friendly. Mostly people left her alone, which was fine. She wasn't ready to try making friends yet. She just wanted to get through the day. In her last class, history, the teacher paired students up for a project. Maya got partnered with a girl named Riley who seemed nice enough. They exchanged numbers to coordinate working on the assignment. It was a small thing, but it felt like progress. Like maybe eventually she could have a normal life here. When school ended, Maya found the bus Vincent had told her about. The ride home took 30 minutes with all the stops. When she finally walked up the gravel driveway to the house, she could hear sawing coming from Vincent's workshop. She dropped her backpack inside and went out to the shop. Vincent was cutting a long piece of wood, measuring carefully. When he saw her, he turned off the saw. How'd it go? It was okay. Normal first day stuff. Anyone give you trouble? No, everyone was fine. Vincent nodded, satisfied. Good, you've got homework? Some, not too much. Well, get it done before dinner. I'm making burgers tonight if that sounds good. It sounded perfect. Maya headed back to the house, pulled out her books, and got to work at the desk in her room. The desk that was hers, in the room that was hers, in a house where someone had asked about her day and meant it. 2 weeks went by. Maya fell into routines. School, homework, chores, dinner. Vincent was exactly what he'd said he'd be. Straightforward, consistent, leaving her space but always there if she needed something. He never yelled. Never made her feel small. Never compared her to anyone else or made her feel like she wasn't enough. Late one night, Maya had a nightmare. She dreamed she was back at Derek's house, scrubbing dishes while everyone laughed at her from the other room. She dreamed her mother stood there watching and did nothing. She woke up gasping, her heart racing. Unable to fall back asleep, she went to the kitchen for water. The house was dark except for a light in the living room. Vincent sat there with a book, still awake at 2 a.m. He looked up when she came in. "Can't sleep?" Maya shook her head, getting a glass from the cupboard. "Nightmares? Something like that." Vincent set his book down. "Sit for a minute if you want." Maya sat on the other end of the couch, curling her legs under her. Vincent got up and made tea without asking if she wanted any. He just made 2 cups and brought them back. They sat there in the quiet, sipping tea, not talking. After a while, Vincent spoke. "When my parents died, I had nightmares for over a year.
Kept dreaming about the phone call I got from the hospital.
Every night, different versions of the same terrible moment." Maya listened, holding her warm cup. "The nightmares eventually stopped being so frequent," Vincent continued. "But they taught me something. Your brain works through hard stuff even when you're trying not to think about it. Dreams are just your mind processing what you've been through. They're not fun, but they're normal." "Does that help?" Maya asked. "Knowing they're normal?" "A little bit. At least you know you're not broken. You're just healing, and healing doesn't happen all at once." They sat there a while longer. Eventually, Maya felt tired enough to try sleeping again. She thanked Vincent for the tea and headed back to her room. This time, when she lay down, she didn't dream about Derek's house. She dreamed about horses running through mountain fields, wild and free. In the morning, Vincent didn't mention the middle of the night tea. He just made breakfast and asked if she wanted a ride to school or preferred the bus. Small, normal questions that made her feel like a regular kid instead of a problem child. Maya was starting to understand something. Vincent hadn't saved her life with some grand gesture. He was saving it in 100 tiny ways. By buying her shoes when hers fell apart. By asking what food she liked. By making tea at 2 a.m. without making her explain why she couldn't sleep. By treating her like someone who mattered consistently day after day. She'd been sent here because no one wanted her. But maybe, just maybe, she'd ended up exactly where she needed to be. 3 months passed before Maya's mother called for the first time. Maya was in the barn brushing down one of the horses, a gentle mare named Willow, when her phone rang. She saw her mother's name on the screen and her stomach twisted into knots. For a moment she considered not answering, but some part of her, the part that still remembered being loved by this woman, made her swipe to accept the call. "Maya, honey, how are you?" Her mother's voice sounded bright and cheerful, like they'd just talked yesterday instead of 3 months ago. "I'm okay." Maya kept brushing Willow, finding comfort in the rhythmic motion. "That's wonderful. I've been meaning to call sooner, but things have been so busy here. Derek got a promotion at work and we've been doing some renovations on the house. You wouldn't recognize the kitchen now." Maya closed her eyes. Her mother was talking about kitchen renovations, not asking how Maya was really doing. Not asking about her new school or if she'd made friends or if she was sleeping okay. Just filling the air with meaningless updates about a house that had never felt like home. "That's nice," Maya managed to say. "And Brittany made the cheerleading squad. We're so proud of her. Tyler's doing well in football too. They're keeping us busy with all their activities." There it was, they, them, her mother's real family, the ones who mattered. "How's school going for you?" her mother asked, like it was an afterthought. "It's fine. I'm doing well in my classes. Good, good. And Vincent? Is he treating you okay?" Maya thought about how Vincent had taught her to use his woodworking tools last week. How he'd patiently showed her how to measure and cut, never getting frustrated when she made mistakes. How he'd started hanging her practice pieces in his workshop like they were actually good. How he made sure she ate breakfast every morning and asked about her homework every night. "He's fine," she said simply. Her mother didn't deserve to know more than that. "Well, that's a relief. Derek was worried, you know, sending you to someone we barely know. But it sounds like it's working out." Anger flared in Maya's chest. Derek had been worried? Derek, who couldn't wait to ship her off to get rid of the problem she represented? But she swallowed the words. Fighting wouldn't change anything. "I should go," Maya said. "I'm in the middle of chores." "Oh, of course. Well, it was good to hear your voice, sweetheart. We'll talk again soon." They wouldn't. Maya knew that. This call had been about easing her mother's guilt, not about actually connecting. "Bye, Mom." She ended the call and stood there in the barn, still holding the brush. Willow turned her head and nuzzled Maya's shoulder like she knew something was wrong. Maya wrapped her arms around the horse's neck and finally let herself cry. She cried for the mother she used to have, the one who'd read her bedtime stories and braided her hair and made her feel safe. She cried for the family she'd lost twice, once when her dad died and again when her mother chose Derek over her. She didn't hear Vincent come into the barn until he spoke. "Everything all right?" Maya quickly wiped her eyes, embarrassed to be caught crying. "Yeah, I'm fine." Vincent didn't push. He just grabbed a brush and started working on the horse in the next stall. They worked in silence for a while, the only sounds the soft snorts of the horses and the whisper of brushes against their coats. "My mom called," Maya finally said. "First time since you got here?" "Yeah." Vincent nodded slowly, still brushing. "How'd that go?" She talked about kitchen renovations and Brittany's cheerleading. Maya's voice cracked a little. "She didn't ask anything real. She didn't want to know how I actually am. She just wanted to check a box so she could tell herself she's still a good mother." Vincent set down his brush and leaned against the stall door. "Some people aren't capable of being what we need them to be. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Just means they're limited. She's my mom, though. She's supposed to care. She probably does care in whatever way she knows how. But caring about someone and actually showing up for them are two different things. One's a feeling. The other's a choice you make every day." Maya thought about that. Vincent cared enough to show up every single day. He didn't make grand speeches about it or expect thanks. He just did it. Made her breakfast, drove her to school when the weather was bad, helped with homework, taught her new skills, steady and constant like the mountains outside. "You can stay here as long as you need," Vincent said quietly. "This is your home now if you want it to be. Not temporary. Not until something better comes along. Just home." Maya felt fresh tears threatening. "You mean that?" "I don't say things I don't mean." That was true. Vincent never made empty promises or said things just to make her feel better. If he said it, he meant it. Maya had learned that about him in these 3 months. "Thank you," she whispered. Vincent nodded and went back to brushing. Subject closed. He'd said what needed saying and now they'd move on. That was his way. School was getting better. Maya had made a few friends, including Riley from her history class. They ate lunch together most days along with 2 other girls, Keisha and Ava. They were nice, normal friendships without drama. They studied together sometimes and texted about homework and complained about difficult teachers. Simple things that felt huge to Maya because she'd been so lonely for so long. Her art teacher, Mrs. Chen, had noticed that Maya liked to draw. She'd seen Maya's doodles in the margins of her notebook during class one day and asked to see more. Maya had shyly shown her some sketches she'd been working on, mostly drawings of the horses and the mountains around Vincent's property. Mrs. Chen had been impressed. She encouraged Maya to take her art more seriously, to develop her skills. She even stayed after school twice a week to give Maya extra instruction and let her use the better art supplies the school had. Maya had never thought of herself as particularly talented at anything, but Mrs. Chen seemed to genuinely believe she had potential. One afternoon, Mrs. Chen pulled Maya aside. "There's a regional art competition coming up in 2 months. High school students from all over the state submit work. I think you should enter something." Maya felt a flutter of panic. "I don't think I'm good enough for that." "I wouldn't suggest it if I didn't think you could compete. You have a good eye, Maya. Your work has emotion in it. That matters more than technical perfection." "Can I think about it?" "Of course. But don't think too long. Sometimes we have to take chances on ourselves." That night at dinner, Maya mentioned the competition to Vincent. She wasn't sure he'd care about art stuff, but she was learning that Vincent paid attention to things that mattered to her, even if they weren't things he knew much about. "What kind of art would you submit?" he asked. "Mrs. Chen thinks I should do a series. Maybe 3 or 4 pieces that connect somehow. I was thinking about doing something with the horses. Show Willow's story, maybe. She was rescued like me." Vincent looked up from his plate. "That's a good idea. Meaningful. You think I should do it?" "I think if your teacher believes in you enough to suggest it, and you're interested enough to consider it, then yeah." "What have you got to lose?" He made it sound simple. What did she have to lose? Just some time and effort. The worst that could happen was she didn't win. But at least she would have tried. "Okay," Maya decided. "I'll do it." The next day she told Mrs. Chen, who immediately started helping her plan out the series. Maya decided to do 4 drawings showing different stages of Willow's journey. The first would show her neglected and afraid. The second would show her arriving at Vincent's ranch. The third would show her learning to trust again. The fourth would show her running free in the pasture, healed and strong. Maya threw herself into the project. She spent hours in the barn sketching Willow from different angles, trying to capture her spirit. She worked on the drawings every night after homework, covering her desk with pencils and erasers and papers. Vincent noticed, and one weekend, he built her a proper art desk with better lighting and storage for her supplies. He didn't make a big deal about it, just set it up in her room while she was at school one day. When Maya came home and saw it, she almost cried. The desk was beautiful, made from smooth wood with careful joints and a tilted top perfect for drawing. It even had small cubbies for organizing her materials. "Vincent, this is too much," she said. He shrugged. "You needed a better workspace." "I had the wood and the time." But Maya knew it was more than that. He'd spent hours building this for her because he believed her art mattered, because he wanted to support something that made her happy. It was one more way he showed up for her without needing recognition for it. Winter came to Montana, and with it, snow that transformed everything into a white wonderland. Maya had seen snow before, but not like this. Here it fell thick and heavy, covering the mountains and fields in blankets of white that sparkled in the sunlight. Vincent taught her how to winterize the barn, how to break ice in the water troughs, how to make sure the horses stayed warm and healthy. One Saturday morning, Maya woke up to find everything covered in fresh snow. Vincent was already outside clearing the driveway with an old plow attached to his truck. Maya bundled up and went out to help shovel the walkways. "You don't have to," Vincent called over the noise of the truck. "It's freezing out here." "I want to help." So they worked together, clearing paths and making sure everything was accessible. When they finished, both of them were red-cheeked and breathing hard. Vincent looked at Maya and then at the untouched snow in the big field beyond the barn. "You ever make a snow angel?" Maya blinked in surprise. In all the time she'd known Vincent, she'd never heard him suggest anything purely for fun. "When I was little." "Not in a long time." "Come on then." He trudged out into the field and without any warning let himself fall backward into the snow. He moved his arms and legs, creating the angel shape, then carefully stood up and examined his work. Not bad for an old guy. Maya actually laughed, and ran out to make her own angel next to his. The snow was cold against her back, but she didn't care. She moved her arms and legs, then Vincent helped pull her up so she wouldn't mess up the shape. They stood there looking at the two snow angels side by side in the pristine white field. It was such a small, simple thing. But to Maya, it meant everything. It meant Vincent wasn't just providing for her basic needs. He was giving her moments of joy, memories worth keeping, a childhood she thought she'd lost. "We should make hot chocolate," Vincent said. "Warm up." They headed back inside, stomping snow off their boots. Vincent made hot chocolate from scratch, the real kind with milk and cocoa powder, not the instant mix. They sat at the kitchen table with their steaming mugs, warming their hands. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said, "Sure." "Why did you say yes? When Derek asked you to take me in, why did you agree? You didn't know me. You didn't owe Derek anything, especially after what happened with your parents." Vincent was quiet for a moment, considering his answer carefully. "I said yes because I remembered what it felt like to be abandoned by the only family I had left. When Derek forced the sale of our parents' house and then cut me off, I felt like I didn't matter to anyone. Like I was disposable." He took a sip of his hot chocolate. "When Derek called and said he needed to send you somewhere, I heard what he wasn't saying. That you were inconvenient. That you were a problem to solve. And I thought about that girl on the other end of this decision who probably felt exactly how I'd felt. Unwanted. Thrown away." Maya felt tears prick her eyes but didn't look away. "I figured maybe I could give you what I wish someone had given me back then. A place where you mattered, where you weren't a burden, where you could just be yourself without having to earn the right to exist." He met her eyes. "Sounds like I was right to say yes." "I'm glad you did," Maya said softly. "Say yes, I mean." "Me too, kid." It was the most vulnerable conversation they'd ever had. Vincent wasn't one for emotional talks or deep discussions about feelings. But when it mattered, when Maya needed to hear it, he found the words. That was enough. Maya finished her art series a week before the competition deadline. The 4 drawings of Willow told a story of pain and healing, fear and hope. Mrs. Chen helped her mat and frame them properly. When they were done, even Maya had to admit they were good. Really good. I'm proud of you, Mrs. Chen said. Whatever happens with the competition, you should be proud of yourself too. You took a chance and created something meaningful. Vincent drove Maya to the school on the deadline day to submit her entry. On the way home, he said, "Want to stop for dinner? There's a diner in town that makes pretty decent burgers." They almost never ate out. It wasn't that Vincent couldn't afford it, but he was a creature of habit who preferred home cooking. So this felt special, like a celebration. At the diner, they sat in a worn booth and ordered burgers and fries. A waitress Vincent seemed to know brought them coffee and hot chocolate without asking. "So what happens now with the competition?" Vincent asked. "They judge all the entries next month. Winners get announced at a ceremony. First place gets a scholarship and their work displayed at the state capitol." "You nervous?" "Terrified," Maya admitted. "What if it's not good enough? Then you'll have tried something hard and learned from it." "That's not failure. That's growth." Vincent took a bite of his burger. "But for what it's worth, I think your drawings are incredible. I'm not an art expert, but I know real when I see it. Your work is real." Coming from Vincent, that meant something. He didn't give false praise or say things just to be nice. If he said her work was good, he meant it. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Just a photo of the family's new kitchen with a caption, "Finally finished. Looks amazing." Maya stared at the photo. She could see Derek and Brittany and Tyler in the background, all smiling. Her mother had sent a picture of the family she'd chosen, the life that didn't include Maya. Whether she meant it as cruelty or just thoughtlessness didn't really matter. The effect was the same. Vincent noticed her expression change. "Everything okay?" Maya set her phone down. "My mom sent a picture of their new kitchen. The whole family's in it." She didn't have to say more. Vincent understood. "Their loss," he said simply. "They don't know what they gave up when they sent you away." Maya looked across the table at this man who'd taken her in when no one else wanted her, who'd given her a home and stability and something she'd almost forgotten existed. A person who showed up every single day without fail, who chose her over and over again through actions instead of empty words. "I used to think being sent here was the worst thing that could happen to me," Maya said. "I thought they were getting rid of me and I'd end up somewhere terrible. And now? Now I think maybe it was the best thing. Because I ended up here, with you, with someone who actually cares." Vincent's expression softened just a little. "You make it easy to care, Maya. You just needed someone to pay attention long enough to see it." They finished their burgers and drove home under a sky full of stars. The ranch house glowed warm and welcoming as they pulled up the driveway. Inside, the art desk Vincent had built sat ready for Maya's next project. In the barn, Willow and the other horses waited for morning feeding. On the refrigerator, held up by magnets, were photos from the past few months. Maya and Vincent working in the barn, the two snow angels they'd made. A picture Riley had taken of Maya laughing at school. This was home. Not because of the building or the location, but because of the person who'd made space for her here, who'd seen her worth when everyone else had given up, who'd taken a broken, unwanted girl and shown her she deserved to take up space in the world. Maya was finally beginning to believe it. Spring arrived slowly in Montana, melting the snow inch by inch and revealing the brown earth underneath. Maya had been with Vincent for almost a year now, and her life had transformed in ways she couldn't have imagined. Her grades were solid, she had real friends, and her art had become something she genuinely loved. But the peace she'd found was about to be tested.